Hey boys and girls, we're going to be working this week on telling time to the half hour. However, I do want to review a few things before we get into that lesson. So, we've been learning how to read and write times last week, and we will continue to do that this week. Last week, we learned to tell time to the hour. So we learned last week that the shorthand points to a number that tells us the hour. And it's on the hour when the longhand is close to or touches the 12. So this time is 2 o'clock. And here is how we would write 2 o'clock, but it's also how it's shown on a digital clock. So does anybody remember what kind of clock this is? I sure hope you said analog, because this is an analog clock and we learned that last week, and this is a digital clock. All right, so let's see what else. So there's our digital clock that we just talked about. Digital clocks come in all shapes and sizes. We wear them on a watch. We have different shapes. We have They can look things like this. I know, look at that. Amazing, huh? A digital Yoda clock. Yeah. And sometimes this is a Winnie the Pooh clock. And when this one goes off, oh, look at that hammer. It goes bing, 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 bing. Oh, it's loud. So there's an analog clock, and you'll see the minute hand moving. Now this one doesn't have numbers. Instead, it has words. So it has the word lunch for 12, and then for 1 o'clock it says nap, and for 2 o'clock, look how Winnie the Pooh wrote exercise. Oh my goodness, he needs to go to first grade. And then 3 o'clock breakfast. Oh my, that's late in the day. 4 o'clock is play, 5 o'clock is nap, 6 o'clock is smackerel, 7 o'clock is visit, 8 o'clock nap, 9 o'clock dinner, 10 o'clock is snooze, 11 o'clock is snooze. So sometimes clocks just get very creative and don't have numbers. Sometimes they'll just have the little slashes with no numbers, and you just have to know where those numbers go. So just wanted to show you two fun clocks today. And then, so the one I just showed you was an analog clock, even though it didn't have numbers. Okay, so just some fun clock information. Let's look at a few more things that we want to talk about with clocks in general. So every hour we have 60 minutes. Okay, so every hour the minute hand goes around once. So let's look back at that Winnie the Pooh clock. So you'll see this one that's moving right here. Okay, that's the second hand. When that goes around one time completely, then you will see this minute hand move up one time. So let's see what happens. I don't know if it'll move enough for you to see. So as the second hand goes by, that minute hand is just barely moving. If you listen real close, you can hear it. All right, so when that second hand goes around one time, then 1 minute has passed by, and this minute hand will just scooch just one more place up. So there are 60 minutes in every hour. There are 60 seconds in every minute. Okay, so that's kind of what I was showing you, that we don't draw the minute hand, the second hand. We only draw the minute hand and the hour hand. But some clocks will have a second hand, some just have that working on the inside. So let's talk a little bit more about the hour. So there are 60 minutes in every hour. So our hour hand, again, we mentioned it just a minute ago, is the shortest hand on the clock. The minute hand either gets close to or touches the numbers. Okay. So here's our minute hand. So our hour hand here is red just to show you. Here they've drawn the line through the minute hand to show you that it's close to 12. So actually that's 1:01, the way they have it there. It's 1 minute past 1, but we're not going to tell time like that. Okay, so there are 60 seconds in every minute. Okay, and here's another example of the minute hand, but we're not going to do any time telling to minutes other than o'clock and 30. Okay, so this week's focus on time is to the half hour. It's to the half hour. So one way we can look at this is the whole clock when the hour hand, minute hand, sorry, goes all the way around 60 times. It goes from the 1, say, to the 2. Okay, that's an hour. But half the hour is when that minute hand starts up here at the 12 and it makes its way down to the 6. Then half of the hour is passed. Okay, half of the hour has passed. So there are 30 minutes in every half hour. So there's 30 minutes from 1 to 1:30, and then there's another 30 minutes from 1:30 to 2. Okay, so these two clocks are broken up into half hours. Do you remember when we did fractions? We talked about half and whole. And here we're seeing half the clock. We had to divide a circle in half when we did our fractions. So think about that. So when that minute hand makes its way from the 12 down to the 6, then half the hour is gone. Okay? Then when that minute hand keeps going and makes its way all the way back up to the 12, an hour has gone by. Okay? Or if we want to know here to here, that's 30 minutes, and 6 to 12 is 30 minutes. So it just depends on what you're needing to know the time for to know which half hour you need. Or sometimes adults will say, well, that will take about half an hour. So they mean 30 minutes, but they may not mean 1 to 1:30. They may just mean 30 minutes, and that's not telling time necessarily. That is just a frame of time. Like something will take 2 minutes or 15 minutes or 3 minutes to do. So sometimes you'll hear parents or grown-ups say, well, that'll take about a half an hour. So if we were looking at a clock and we wanted to know about what half an hour looks like, it would look like this. So this week we are going to work on telling time to the half hour. So on our clocks this week, most of the time we're going to be talking about clocks that have the minute hand touching the 6. Now there will be times this week where we're working both on the hour and the half hour. So and it's wanting you to decide, is it o'clock or 30? But I will help you with that. So when we write time to the half hour, we write, for instance, this time is 1:30. Okay? So when we write time in first grade, we either write time to the half hour, which is 1:30, or we write time to the hour, which would be with 00. Okay, so in first grade, when we write time, it's either going to have 30 after the timekeepers, or it will have 00 after the timekeepers, depending on what the clock says. All right, so let's look at another clock. I have a huge analog clock here. Let's see if I can get this to go up so we can get more of it in the screen. So we're going to work mainly on this side since I can only get one side in the screen. So let me take this back up here to 1 o'clock. Okay, because now when we're looking at clocks on paper and on the wall, we need to see what happens to this hour hand, because this hour hand is going to move while the minute hand moves, and so we have to kind of know what to do with that. So if our minute hand, it's going to tick across here. Of course, I'm going faster than the minute hand. And see what's happening? That was on the number 1. Is it on the number 1 now? Nope. So watch what's happening. As that minute hand goes, that hour hand slowly moves. So this is the hardest thing, but most important thing about telling time to the half hour. So we had it starting at 1 o'clock. We moved our minute hand down, our hour hand moved. What time had we been on? We had been on 1 o'clock. And our minute hand moved halfway down. So we're still in the 1 o'clock hour. Okay? We're still in the 1 o'clock hour. So this time is 1:30. The reason it's not 2:30 is our hour hand has not gotten to the 2. It has been at the 1. It has not gotten to the 2, so it's still under the 1's rule, or in the 1's house. Different people say it different ways. So then as that last 30 minutes goes by, watch what happens. I know you can't see the whole clock, but as that moves around and back up to the 12, where's my hour hand now? It's at 2. Our minute hand's at 12, so it's 2 o'clock. Okay? So let's watch what happens again. So we're at 2 o'clock. So keep 2 o'clock in your brain. Our minute hand's going to travel 30 minutes here. It's going to be a quick 30 minutes, huh? And watch that hour hand. See? It's already off the 2. And here we are at 6. That's half the hour. And look, it's between the 2 and the 3. So we have to call this 2:30 because our minute hand hasn't gone around to where the hour hand is on the 3. Okay? So it's still under the rule of 2 or in the 2's house because it has not gotten to 3's house. Okay? So we would call that 2:30. So let's look. We're going to take our minute hand and go up to the top again. And here we are. Now that hour hand is pointing to the 3. So this would be what? 3 o'clock. Let's do one more before we shift over to our papers for today. So we're at 3 o'clock. Okay, so keep 3 o'clock in your brain. 30 minutes are going to go by. See, there's that 30 right here at the bottom. 30 minutes are going to go by. And look, our hour hand is no longer on the 3, but it's not in the middle of 4. So is it 3:30 or 4:30? What do you think? Well, I hope you said 3:30 because it's still in the 3 o'clock house. It has not gotten to the 4 o'clock house. Okay? So it's 3:30. And then if we take our minute hand and go 30 more minutes back up to the top, now that hour hand is in the middle of 4. Okay? So your hour hand, it either has to be in the middle while your minute hand's on 12, but if it's past it, as long as it's not to the next number, it's still in the 4 house. Okay? So 4 starts in the middle of 4 o'clock hour. In the middle of 4 starts the hour. And then as it moves, it can't be 5 o'clock until this line gets into the middle. So 4 o'clock lasts until this last little dot right here. The 4 o'clock hour, his house goes from here to here. And then it becomes the 5 o'clock house. All right, so let's look at what we've got for today. So this says week 2, day 1, and that's where we're at. We're day 1 of week 2. Some of us worked on this last week, but that's okay. And it says right here, need plastic cover. Remember what I've given you? You need that. We're going to put that in here. And then you need your dry erase marker. We're just going to do a few of these today. But keep in mind, you can always use this to practice with. You can always slide it in this sheet on another day and practice with that. So we're going to do time to the hour first, and then we'll do time to the half hour. So the last time we did on our digital or our analog clock over there was 4:30. So let's go ahead and do 5. So we're going to draw 5 o'clock. So we're going to have a shorthand arrow pointing to the 5 and the long one pointing to the 12. Okay. So we're going to write our time here as 5 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to give you just a few minutes to do that. Okay, so now I want you to erase this arrow. See, I can do it with my finger. You can do it with a napkin. And I want you to draw that arrow down here to the 6 and almost touch the 6 with the arrow. Okay. So when I have my arrow pointing to the 5 or between the 5 and the 6, then we write that as 5:30. Okay. 5:30, and that's half past 5 is 5:30. So sometimes people don't call it the half hour, they call it half past the hour. Okay, so let's look at another couple of times where we can look at the time at the hour and then decide what it is at the half hour. So I'm going to erase that. I'm going to erase that. And that. You can use a napkin or a Kleenex or whatever. All right, so let's look at 7 o'clock. So draw 7 o'clock. So short hour pointing to 7. Minute hand pointing to the 12. And then write the time to the hour right here. 7 o'clock. Okay. So now let's make that look like 7:30. So we're going to erase this one. And we're going to draw the line down this way. Touch the 6. And now we have 7:30. Okay. Half past 7 is 7:30. Now I know that we talked a little bit on the clock I was showing you that actual clocks do move that minute hand, or the hour hand, sorry, to in between those two. So when we're doing papers, you can even take your pencil and do this to see, oh, okay, that's pointing between 7 and 8. So I know it's still in the 7 o'clock hour. So I write the time with a 7 with a 30 behind the timekeepers. Okay, so I don't mind if you do that on your papers, if you need to draw a line straight from there so you can see for sure where that arrow is pointing to. Okay, so you can do this. You can keep this page. I don't mind. You don't have to turn that one in. And then you can work on your own at different times with your grown-up on telling time and writing the time to the hour and the half hour. So let's take a look at the other side. So on this side, you're going to match digital time to analog time. And yes, I told you at the beginning of the lesson it's going to mix something in. So this time on the digital says 1:30, so I need to find the clock that shows 1:30. Oh, this one doesn't have anything to do with 1. Nope, nope. Here's one that's got the line close to 1, so I can kind of, ooh, yeah, that's the hour hand. It has passed the 1, it's not to the 2, so it's got to be 1:30. So then I draw my line right here, okay? All right, so this one says 7:30, so let's see if we can find an hour hand close to the 7. No, no, right right here, I've got one that's close to the 7. Oh, it goes straight out that way. So it's been to the 7. It hasn't made it to 8. The minute hand's on the 30. Yep, that's got to be 7:30. Now they throw one of those to the hour in. I told you. You'll see that again. So this says 10 o'clock. So I need to find one with the hour hand pointing to the 10 and the minute hand pointing to 12. Not here. Oop, I got hour hand to 10. Do I have minute hand to 12? Yep. So those two match. Okay, we got 2 more and then we'll go. So down here I have 2:30. So I need to look for the hour hand at the 2. Ah, here's one at the 2. Not quite to the 3. I could extend that line with my pencil. Yep. Still in the 2 house because it hasn't got to 3 to get into the 3 house. So there's my 2:30 because the minute hand is on 6. Now that leaves us with 1 clock here, 1 clock here, and we could just draw a line, but we need to make sure we've got the right clock. So what time does this say? 5:30. Okay, here's one we have left. That hour hand is in between 5 and 6, so it's been 5, not 6 yet. So there we go. There is our clock that says 5:30. All right, I know that lesson was longer than usual, but time sometimes, especially to half hour, can get very complicated. All right, we will catch you guys later and see you tomorrow.